I'd like to preface my remarks and add a few caveats to what I'm about to say. I do recall once closing a hospital in a rural town in Otago, New Zealand, and having met with the community, the police came to me afterwards and said, "Susan, I think we'll escort you out of town." I hope that won't happen tonight, or I hope there won't be a need for that tonight. But I'd like to preface my remarks by a recognition that I've been in the role for a whole 3 weeks. So I'm a real expert on Armidale City and Armidale region. Hopefully I can provide some fresh and objective perspectives. I certainly have spoken to a lot of people during the past 3 weeks, and hopefully we'll speak to a whole lot more. You'll appreciate I'm pretty ignorant on a number of issues and players and history of the region, so please forgive me for that. I'd also like to add a caveat that what I'm about to say are my own personal views, and the council can distance themselves from them as they wish. But I have to say that I'm absolutely delighted to be here in Armidale and delighted to be the Chief Executive of the Regional Council. The city itself and the region, I think, when I do my due diligence before applying for the role, seems to be blessed with all the ingredients that it needs to really prosper. It's got the technology, and one of the first cities to receive the NBN, and of course you've got fibre to the premises, fantastic educational facilities including the university, the horticultural and agricultural sector, and put together I don't think you could hope for better ingredients to create a vibrant city. I'd like to play my part over the coming months and years in actually making Armidale the benchmark for regional cities in Australia. We all know about the difficulties of regional cities, and some of those are common and to all regions, and it can be tough operating in a regional city. There's typically a small pool of customers and smaller than the metropolitan markets. Regional cities are also, as you will appreciate, at the mercy of economic fluctuations such as a drought, but also because of commodity prices go up and down all the time. And that smaller pool of customers can also mean that regional businesses can take longer to adapt and recover from changes to business climate, such as the disruptive technologies that places like Sydney, where I come from, and large cities like Melbourne can just absorb and take advantage of immediately. So to make Armidale City a benchmark for regional cities, a lot of work needs to be done to seize what I call the opportunities that are fair bristling around Armidale. Over my past few weeks, I've heard and received a lot of insight from conversations with people, local business people, of course, residents, community groups, colleagues at councils, and nobody's been backward in telling me what they think is needed for the region, and even more forthright about what they think the council should be doing. And that insight, I think, included some harsh, but to me very welcome feedback that in the past the council's been pretty slow in its decision making. Prevaricating is a word that I hear often about the council. And more often than not, that it's not terribly responsive to community feedback. It's inconsistent in its decision making and seems to be governing for particular interest groups and not the whole of the community or just the parts of the region. And it's resistant to change. These are all things I've heard before, because I think local government, over the 3 continents in which I've experienced local government, is viewed often through those lenses. And while I think that some of that may be true, and we have to take on board that feedback, I think that the councils work is often not recognised because it delivers on the fundamental roles of local government, and I'd like to talk a little bit about that. But it also plays a role that is important for the people in this room, and that is in economic development and attracting businesses and supporting businesses in the town. And the role in this Armidale Regional Council in fostering economic development, I think, has been a positive one for this town. It's got a dedicated economic development and tourism team, and it provides and has been providing some pretty vital infrastructure over the years and in the future, and taking a lead in the future planning of public spaces that activates the town and brings foot traffic and traffic to the businesses that are in the city. If you can bear with me for a few seconds, because I'd like to run through some of the infrastructure that is planned and has been delivered. Recently, and thank you, Adam, we recently secured a $12.3 million in state funding for the council project to construct the Malpas to Guyra pipeline. That will provide much greater water security for the Guyra residents, and just as importantly, provides the last piece of the puzzle for the expansion of the horticultural industry, the tomato farm that is up there. And that support is actually very important, because the expansion out there will support the Costa Group, which already produces some 14 million kilos of tomato each year, to expand. On top of that, of course, there have been some $9 million of regional airport improvements. I know that's very topical at the moment, but we have at the Armidale Regional Airport a significant and probably overcapacitated terminal, which will stand us in good stead for the future. And of course, there's the nearby business park that is to be further developed, which is another $7 million to go into that business park. In planning of public spaces, there's the Armidale CBD revitalisation. And I'm pleased to say that the council's been working really closely with business and community leaders, which including the Mall Development Advisory Group, to look at activating and making the mall a place where people want to be. People want to spend time, spend money, and support the businesses that are there. Of course, one of the things that council does, which is probably seen less obviously, than providing vital infrastructure, is actually facilitating economic growth. It does so, and it plays a dual role, both as a regulator with its planning and regulatory services, as well as a broader policy role in helping businesses grow. And one of the examples that I'd like to talk to you about is the unit plan, in which our planning and development people case managed the development consent for a huge expansion of a local prefab building construction company, Uniplan. And I think those things are very important. All too often, and there wasn't a joke from Anthony about talking to us about your DAs and getting them through. Some of that's probably true, but other times when we do get it right, and case managing and fast tracking development approvals and getting them through the regulatory services, it makes a significant difference to the confidence of businesses, as well as getting their developments undertaken. We also supported, of course, the investment in the TAFE Digital headquarters, and ensured that it was known as a complying development and didn't have to go through the full development assessment process, which then fast-tracked that particular headquarters and the jobs that it brings with it. I could go on. There are a lot, and there's a lengthy list of ventures. including working solidly with the University of New England to offer guidance for their improvements and new ventures, because we all know how important the university is to the Armidale city region. In each of these instances that we could talk about, the council is offering its expertise and guidance to facilitate growth rather than to become an obstacle. And I guess one of the roadblocks we need to overcome in becoming that benchmark of a regional city is having the council recognised and known as and behaving as a facilitator of growth, not an obstacle to it. I remember in one of my previous chief exec roles inviting a developer to come and talk to our planners and our building services people, and I could see the light bulbs coming on when the developer said, you know, when you've borrowed up to your eyeballs from the bank for this development to purchase the land, and you've got a DA going through the council, you lie awake every night wondering when that's going to happen, because you can see the dollar signs turning over on the interest on that loan. And it was a sort of seminal moment for our planners, because they understood for as long as the DA sat in their in basket, for as long as it was there and they weren't working on it and expediting it, they were not facilitating growth. And having the shift from being seen and behaving as a regulator to facilitator is, I think, very important for the council. In the light of some of the feedback I've received, I think it's important for us all to recognise that the council, like all public sector bodies, is not directly responsible for generating growth. That's the role of the people in this room. Councils may facilitate, may even catalyse and intervene in some areas, but actually economic growth and development is in the hands of the private enterprise, and we'd like local businesses to work with us in playing their entrepreneurial role to help grow the economy of Armidale City. It is, however, and you know, this is not to slide out from under for the council, it is the council's responsibility to help provide an environment in which businesses can thrive. We think that's very much our role. We need to provide the policy framework, which is not just about implementing and maintaining the roads and collecting the waste and ensuring the water comes out of your taps, but it's also about assisting with the planning and approvals process. It's ensuring that our development, our local economic plans, our broader spatial planning strategies are ones that actively assist you develop your businesses. Adopting policies that do not inhibit growth, and have strategies for our public places like our parks, our malls, our footpaths even, that are aligned with economic development plans and objectives. Of course, that has to be balanced and must sit comfortably with our equally important role to regulate, to ensure that we get good development, positive development, and development of the city and its region that we can be proud of. Sometimes it will be our role also to help do that, to directly intervene, catalyse, perhaps even investing. But sometimes it also means just get out of the way so that you people can go about your business and facilitate that growth, develop that growth. It's important, I think, and I do recall when I was in Cape Town, one of the big first things we had to do for the Cape Town City Council was develop a long-term strategic plan for the city. And we consulted with all groups, everybody from those who lived in informal settlements, which were some pretty appalling living conditions, right through to the major corporates that were in Cape Town, like Anglo-American. And we asked them, what were the most important things to you? And well, surprisingly to me, there was not a lot of difference in what the people in the informal settlements wanted and what companies like Anglo American wanted. They wanted the council to be transparent, not corrupt, and be a source of stability in its operations and be a kind of model and cornerstone for the community. It wanted the council to be decisive and consistent in its decision-making and actions, and also to demonstrate some courage and confidence in its direction and decisions, and certainly in what is required. And I would hope that I'm working for the Armidale Regional Council that can and will demonstrate that, because I guess I have a fundamental belief that local people, whether they're in business or in residence, are pretty much the same the world over and would expect the same from their council whether they lived in Cape Town or Armidale. Overall, the council's got to be delivering value to its community. You pay rates, you have a right to expect a return on that investment. And the return on that investment means that you as shareholders see an increase in your wealth in the community. More infrastructure, better services, better facilitation, better policies to enable you to go about your business. In particular, we need to think about what the Armidale region and the city needs in the future. It's no surprise to anybody, but I think the council is in the intergenerational business. It's not enough for us to govern for this year and next year. When we build a road, we would like it still to be there in 50 years' time. So that's intergenerational. And that needs to apply to other services, not just hard infrastructure. We must ensure providing the leadership and the support to each and every sector of the community. And that applies from the very young people through to the 18 to 35 segment of the community, because in many ways they're the lifeblood of our area, and they're the ones who are going to be the generations long after I've certainly gone, and probably many councillors as well. And so that's about bringing vibrancy and vitality, and because this will raise the next generation of young residents. I had an interesting conversation with the Chief Executive of TAFE Digital. She has brought to Armidale a very talented, well-educated group of youngish people in the 18 to 35 age group who are working in TAFE Digital, developing some state-of-the-art educational and teaching tools. She has a concern about keeping these people because, and she says it, these people live on smashed avocado and caffeine, and where are they going to get that in Armidale after 2:30 on a Saturday afternoon? And I think it's something that we need to think about because these are the people who will be and raise the next generation of Armidale people. So, to attract these younger people, to retain the young people who come out of the University of New England, we need to ask ourselves the question, what do we need to do to entrench our region as a place for people to come and live, be educated, play, do business? And so what do we need to do to satisfy their need for social interaction, nightlife, sporting clubs, and make Armidale a city for all? Show that Armidale is a region that's open for business and has the infrastructure to be open 24/7. Dynamic businesses are responsive to the needs and lifestyles of their customers, and not just for the business operators. And to achieve this and to be most effective, I believe that cooperation between the council and business must be a two-way street. It's sobering to hear the feedback from people like Anthony saying that the relationship has not always been the best in the past. I hope that I can help influence that and improve that for the future, because it is vital that people in business works cooperatively, collaboratively with the council. The council facilitating and creating that business environment means that businesses can develop the economy of Armidale. So we would like businesses to be able to keep themselves informed and engaged with what we are doing at the council, provide us with constructive input into the conversations, the projects and plans, join with us and help us on our emphasis on innovation and pushing the boundaries, and helping us seize the opportunities for the council and businesses to work together and not in conflict. A strong Armidale City is an asset for the whole region. The Armidale Regional Council is not just a council for the city itself, but the city is the asset for the region. It can better meet the needs of our agricultural and horticultural sectors, and it will be better equipped to support those sectors when it can have the professional services, the investment and financial services to support those who are in the regions. And most of all, the agricultural and horticultural sectors out in the regional areas, money comes through the city and is channelled through the Armidale City being the commercial hub of the region. So a healthy city also means a healthy region, and a healthy region means a healthy city. As I said, I'm very confident that Armidale has the ingredients to become a very desirable destination for people to live, work, play and locate a business. Very few other regions in Australia could boast such promising attributes, in my belief. So it's up to us, and it's a call to arms for the people in this room to work with us in the Regional Council, because we certainly couldn't do it without you, and we'd like to think you couldn't do it without us either. So thank you very much.